What's up, guys? We're at the Intel Extreme Masters. Tasting our toasts here. Are you guys having fun? Good. We got a pretty sick match coming up here at Toast.
Yeah, we do.
TVZ.
I mean, those last matches were great, but Vortex, this guy is like the underdog here. I mean,
I know. He's sort of the dark horse of the tournament.
He's never had a huge result. He's never really done it on an international scale at a LAN, but he's been playing so well this weekend.
Yeah, you know, I feel like the main point we want to talk about when we're talking about this guy is you know, he's the brother of Lucifron. Lucifron, of course, if you follow any StarCraft 2 on the international scene, he's definitely an accomplished player, solid, quite a genius, actually. And clearly this guy's got the right DNA on his side because he has been really impressing me.
That has to be like the royal bloodline of Spain, Tasis. It's the only way to look at this. The guy, such an aggressive Zerg. He showed some really cool styles, loves to do drops, can get very aggressive with mutas. I'm excited to see what he's going to do against ForGG here because ForGG is one of the scariest Terran players, and he has a style all his own.
Yeah, and then again, you know, as you said, Vortex has his own style as well. He seems to neglect pushing creep out early on. Instead, like you said, focusing on drops. We don't see a lot of drops, actually, in StarCraft 2. It's sort of a rare moment. Usually you see drops in a TVZ at the end game. If the guy's meching or something, he'll push out due to lack of mobility. This guy will actually just drop in with Banelings right on top of the army, like we saw, then push creep later on. He powers heavily, constantly larva injecting, never seeming to miss a beat. And again, we just don't see a lot of Zergs like this. Although ForGG has his own way of playing the game, I guess the other question is ForGG going to be comfortable with the way that Vortex approaches StarCraft 2?
So true, Tasis. And will they actually have studied each other at all? I would say yeah. You know, they had last night off. Of course, you're going to go through those VODs. You're going to check out what was this guy actually doing to get to where he was. And I think ForGG is going to open up with his normal style, though. You know, he's going to go for things like Cloaked Banshee or some Hellion Banshee type harassment. But will Vortex be able to hold that off correctly and get into that later game where he can really get his aggression on?
Yeah, we're just going to have to see. ForGG, of course, an accomplished player from StarCraft 1. He switched over halfway through the release of StarCraft 2. Unlike most pro gamers, they either switched over right when StarCraft 2 came out or right when Kesba, you know, decided to have all the guys start playing StarCraft 2. How's it going out there, guys? You ready for this game? Well, the camera shot went off. I mean, it's too loud in my headset. I'm pretty sure they are. So let's go ahead and introduce these players in the bottom right on this one-on-one map, the map Ohana. Give it up for our Zerg player, the brother of Lucifron, Vortex. Meanwhile, in the upper left, we have our Terran player, a very accomplished StarCraft 1 Terran. Now he's here in StarCraft 2. Give it up for ForGG.
All right, man. Ohana is the map. This is going to be a good map for ForGG. You know, it's Terran, and he's able to easily attack after the third base. You know, the fourth base, the fifth base of Zerg, going to be a lot harder to defend.
And, you know, one thing to note is the map is very narrow. It's a little bit harder to counterattack. It's tall but skinny, I guess you could say. So we'll see what exactly ForGG has planned coming into this. But I think you're definitely right. There's going to be a little bit of a map disadvantage here for Vortex.
We'll see how he goes ahead and deals with it. Of course, these guys going to go ahead and open up with just completely standard builds. I mean, you're always going to go hatch first against Terran, except in a crazy scenario. And Terran generally is just going to go right into the command center because, you know, you can still go into Hellions, you can still go into your Banshees, and be pretty safe overall.
And, you know, the reasoning behind that is that, you know, when StarCraft 2 first came out, you could get away with aggression, but now at this point in time, these guys are so good. If you're aggressive early on, and there are exceptions, of course, but if you're aggressive early on and you do not do the damage, then you're just behind. And, you know, if you're behind against somebody of the caliber of these players, then there's really no hope for you because they're just they're too good mechanically.
All right, well, looks like the drone just going to harass this SCV for a moment, but that drone's going to have to get out of here as the Marine is being built. It's very standard for both players still at this point. One thing to note is that ForGG has neglected to scout, but really, even if he did scout, what would he be looking for?
Yeah, you know, it's good to scout in StarCraft 2, but if the metagame is operating in this way where it's so obvious that he's going to get hatched first and there's really nothing to penalize you for scouting later on, why on earth are you wasting a worker looking around the map?
Well, ForGG actually going into double gas before a third command center, and I'm not surprised at all to see that. He wants to get up into his Hellions and possibly Banshees a little bit quicker.
So the Overlord over here, and this is very common, but it's important to point out, the Overlord here can check for these two gas geysers. That's why you put it up here, because if you see the two gases taken up here, it's going to tell you a lot. It's going to say, okay, he's teching, probably not going to do a very early attack, and if it is an early attack, it'll be something that would require factories and starports instead of mass barracks. So important to note, and he will actually also take this Overlord over here and check the gases.
That is right. Well, for Vortex, still no gases for him, making 2 queens at the moment. How many queens will he actually decide to go up to?
Do you think he's going to neglect pushing creep tumors? Actually, this might be answered right here with the queen being placed in this position. Because again, in that ZVP, excuse me, we saw so many creep tumors, rather larva injects, and no creep tumors.
Yeah,
so
he does skip a lot more than most Zergs do. He is going up to 4 queens, and that's enough to push it some. But will he actually go up a little bit higher and get 5 or 6? Because as soon as you get that, you know they're going to focus on creep.
Okay, so from this placement here, it's very obvious the factory is going to swap with the barracks, and we're going to have reactored Hellions. Now, since you got the 2 gases here, it's pretty. We can confidently say that he's probably going to go ahead and get a couple Banshees out. And this Hellion Banshee style, pretty common nowadays. It was less common about 2 months ago. It's really caught on.
Yeah,
it seems to be one of the I don't want to say generic, but standard textbook Terran TVZ build orders.
Indeed, it is. Well, we'll have to see if he wants to get Cloak with that or not, and if Vortex is actually going to be ready. He is taking his 3rd base, so he's spread out quite a bit. And, he hasn't pushed a ton of creep in this tournament so far, but hopefully he pushes some over towards his 3rd, or he's going to find it very hard to defend against Hellion Banshee.
All right, the Hellions are coming down here now, and there are more Hellions on the way. I assume that Vortex is probably going to see these Hellions and just assume Cloak Banshee. This is no longer one of these builds where there's an element of surprise. It's pretty standard. Now those Hellions just reclaiming the watchtowers, or at least denying the Zerg from utilizing them.
Well, Vortex has made a great wall at the top of his ramp. We do have these Hellions coming up here, and they will meet that wall.
Block.
Yeah, very well done. But he keeps them alive because he's going for that Cloak Banshee, so he needs the Hellions to help out against Queens. And really, we need to see Vortex push his creep over towards that 3rd a little bit more, or he's not going to be able to hold on to it.
So he's attempting to provoke the Zerg to bring something out here to attack. Vortex is not biting the bait, but this is a problem because his hatchery is taking damage. Granted, it takes Hellions a really long time to kill a hatchery. If you leave him alone for long enough, there's going to be a lot of damage. Plus, he's not able to utilize it. He can't really mind with drones here as long as they're here. The Banshee coming in here now. Zerglian speed almost done.
This actually could be a problem. There is a possibility he will lose this, especially considering the layer is not quite done yet, and he only has these 2 extra queens. And this army absolutely can take out those 2 extra queens. And in fact, they might even want to run by and go up towards the main.
All right, and they're going to do just that. No, excuse me, they're going to trap the queens here. And he might lose both of these. The Zergling's certainly not in a good position. The queen goes down. And this is kind of, all right, Artos, you know what you're asking me, is this a bop? This could be a bopping right here. So, all right, maybe not, because the Zerglings now come in here, taking out the Hellions. But now there's Cloak on the way. And again, keep in mind this hatchery is so low, he could just go to the bottom left here and just hit that hatch.
Absolutely, with 2 Banshees. This hatchery is gone, guys. This is actually a crazy victory in this game for ForGG to actually kill the hatchery with your harassment units.
It's insane. Normally with builds like this, well, this isn't good. He's going to lose this Banshee over here, but, small loss compared to losing 2 queens and a hatchery and a multitude of Zerglings.
Well, ForGG has to be feeling really good about himself. And, of course, behind this, he's done the ForGG style of getting 2 additional command centers. So he's going to be able to really get his economy going, a ton of mules, a ton of SCVs, and he even has those 2 engineering bays so that he can catch up on upgrades.
You know, and from here, ForGG can do all sorts of different openers. He doesn't have to actually attack. He can sit back and turtle. He can try to suck up more of the map, expanding here and probably here. Or he can do a timing push, because when you kill those queens and that hatchery, I mean, think about it, guys. They get all their units. Everything comes from the hatchery, whether it's larva or, you know, it's the queens coming out of the hatchery. If you lose that, I mean, you're reducing your output by a tremendous amount.
Indeed. Well, the two Cloak Banshees trying to do some harassment, but Vortex is on top of it. He's making 11 mutas right now. So, you know what? ForGG doesn't really have all that many Marines yet. He's only got 10. So he's going to have to be careful here and actually get some turrets up to help defend against these mutas.
Yep, there are 11 out now, and we'll see what damage they can do. Now note, he has started pushing creep pretty heavily here. So I suppose he doesn't push creep as hard against Protoss, but against Terran, like a lot of our other good Zerg players, very focused on dominating the map with the creep. Also note, with the Overlord here, it's really hard to land this command center, and that's something that's going to be very frustrating for ForGG. He wants to keep this lead going.
Well, it is going to take a long time for him to land that. But look at this, a lot of Zerglings going up and surrounding these Marines and tanks. A nice move here by Vortex, and a great pickup by ForGG. He cannot afford to lose those two siege tanks.
A lot of damage dealt there. He's definitely making sure this creep stays here for as long as possible. That was the purpose of that attack there. Had the Terran gone down the ramp, it would have been an even worse situation. Tanks being repaired, and now the mutas are coming in.
Well, they're going to fly and kill a missile turret going right into that mineral line with no missile turrets there to defend. Just a lot of Marines stimming and running in, but this is a good amount of mutas, and he may even be able to kill some of these Marines on the way out.
And no mutas killed just there. And this is still going on, so I got to say, Vortex has actually handled a really bad situation really well. I never would have imagined that, considering the damage that was taken in here from Vortex, that he would actually manage to engineer a strategy where he could still keep even here. Note the supplies here, about an 8 supply, well now dead even.
And look at this, he just now clears out that Overlord, so he has to wait a long time before the creep even dissipates. ForGG wanted to have this expansion up like minutes ago, and at this point, he's falling behind economically speaking.
You know what he actually can do, I think, is with the Banelings, he actually could just take this out. He could actually drop creep here again.
Uh-oh, here we go. The speed Banelings coming up, picking up a siege tank, but really wants to kill the Marines. The Muta's targeting siege tanks, in fact, hitting them with Banelings as well. Well, reducing the siege tank count at any point is a good idea.
Nicely played there by ForGG, and finally, this orbital can land. But meanwhile, the 4th base here for Vortex already on the way. If Vortex goes untouched and doesn't make any major blunders, Vortex can absolutely catch up.
Oh, I would definitely say so, Tasteless. He's doing a great job so far, already getting his hive, switching up into Infestor Tech as well, coming with another aggressive attack.
Here we go again.
And the tank is in siege. This just keeps happening. We have the Banelings coming in and just destroying a ton of Marines. Vortex is doing a really good job, Tasteless.
I can't believe this. I actually cannot believe this is happening right now. ForGG had such a massive lead. Vortex is so clutch. By the way, this guy is so young. He's, what, 19 years old, right?
Yeah, I believe he's 19.
I mean,
might even
not
be 18.
a lot of stage experience here.
Yeah,
yet he is playing unbelievably well.
Well, if he keeps this up, Tasteless, soon, you know, he won't be Lucifron's brother. Lucifron will be Vortex's brother.
Meanwhile, we got more and more expansions coming up here. He's going to continue to crank out this. What do you think about the additional factories, Artosis?
Oh, I like it. He's lost a lot of tanks, but hold on. We do have an attack in the 3rd base once again. These Banelings, they just never stop. And in fact, he doesn't even have siege mode yet.
And the SCVs and the mules coming down here now.
That is a lot of mules.
Can he connect it?
Well, he
didn't lose as much as I thought he would.
Could have been much worse, for sure. In the meantime, Tasteless, those two Banshees are actually still flying around the map down at the 3rd base of Vortex. And, in fact, he's going to go ahead and lose a few drones.
Yeah, that Banshee had 9 kills, actually. All right, let me do a quick check here. It is 68 SCVs to 76, or 69 SCVs to 76 drones here. And that just bumped up to 73 SCVs. Keep in mind there are mules here as well.
Yep.
The creep spread, it kind of stopped for a little bit.
Yeah,
you see fresh creep tumor just now, but it's been a little bit. since he's pushed that out.
He's been so busy, you know, attacking, just microing his units, getting aggressive like he likes to do. So that is definitely a part of it. But it will hurt that he doesn't have as much creep when ForGG does start to push out. Now,
and the 5th base is coming in here.
Yeah, and he's going ultras with this Tasteless. You know, he's just continued to reduce the size of ForGG's army. What do you think about the ultralisk tech?
I think it's pretty smart. You know, you could go Broodlords. This is common, but the less common of the two endgame tech maneuvers here. So we'll see. Now here comes ForGG. Is he going to be in siege mode? He is, but there are no banelings, so he can back up easily. Not losing any infestors there. 2 getting bruised.
Well, he is moving around to the other side of his creep. ForGG starting to take a lot of creep out. A nice little fungal picking off a few of those Marines that were meant to kill creep tumors. And ForGG's push has officially begun. So Vortex needs to buy a little bit of time, finish maxing out, and really get the right attack on this army.
All right, so we got some more banelings on the way. You know, the beautiful thing about banelings is that they make so quickly, you can basically make them in real time. I mean, once you need them, you make them, and they're usually there before the battle actually begins. It's not, you know, for instance, like you're trying to get a Broodlord out, there's a chance that if you don't put that Broodlord in the right position, you know, you can lose it when it's in the morphine process. All right, they're moving in now. ForGG is.
Oh, and Vortex coming up. His Lings get on the tanks immediately, but they do target down a lot of these banelings, which will help out. Marines coming down for a little flank as well. But you do have him chasing ForGG all the way home.
And now he's going to make a beeline over to this. I thought it was going to be the 4th base. The 3rd base doing a ton of damage now, chasing him up the ramp. And this 3rd base now is basically naked. It could take so much damage. Infested turrets coming in here. Did he just kill ForGG? I think that might be the case, Artosis.
He might. This aggression is just so overwhelming, Tasteless. But ForGG is getting to a very defensive position. In the meantime, at the 3rd base, we do have an Ultra killing off all the SCVs.
And, of course, this base not going to be very impactful since there's no workers there. Spilling in here now, doing an insane amount of damage. The SCV's coming down, and I would say expect GG pretty soon. This base, again, almost all the SCV's gone. And, you know, this is a KO attack here.
You know what I love is that Vortex is not slacking at all right now because he realizes that with good micro, these ultras can be taken out. So his Greater Spire is almost finished.
Okay. So we have the orbital barely saved here. It is burning down, but we do have an SCV, as you can see here, repairing it. And meanwhile, an attack again over here. Now, he has a lot of Marauders, which are quite effective against Ultralisks. Not exactly the best angle here.
So many units for Vortex.
I feel like although I really feel like ForGG cannot recover from this, no. I think. I mean, unless it's up to Vortex to make a mistake. If you look at the supply, 72 to 155. By the way, the 5th base here was taken out, and it looks like there's a drop over here. That was going on with all the action.
Yeah, that must have been the one that took that out. And you know what? He's just going to hold on to that. In the meantime, we do have these Ultras being chased away by the Marauders, and this is exactly what ForGG wants to do right now. Make a Marauder-based army, walk through the map, kill Ultras off, and win, or start to come back, rather, I should say, now, through micro.
ForGG is a scrappy player, so let's do a hypothetical here before this attack occurs. If he does hold off these next few attacks, eventually these bases here will be mined out, and since ForGG has only recently acquired these bases in comparison to the Zerg, there is a chance if he holds it off, he'll burn out the Zerg on an income level, but I just don't know if this can be stopped.
Well, he's going after this 4th base of ForGG again. He really does need that. He needs more income.
Smart move. He did not use the banelings on the workers. Nice block here.
Yeah.
Kind of funny that fungal actually forced those units to be stuck.
But you see, now the problem is he has all these Marauders, which is really good against the unit composition. He's fighting right this second, but 6 Broodlords are on the way. And as those Broodlords pop out, with a mere 17 Marines, I don't really see ForGG killing them.
All right, he's continuing to mass up here. Again, ForGG somehow managed to keep these orbitals up despite those insane attacks, especially with all those infested Terrans thrown down. Note he's throwing all the mules over here because it's not clear if he's going to be able to mine from this area forever. He's probably going to have to lift again. So instead of dropping him here, which is pretty sparse, he's going to keep landing them over there.
Yeah.
And the Broodlords are spilling in. This is a really bad position here for the Terran.
Yeah, how does he actually kill these Broodlords off? He's starting to make some more Marines, but it may be too little too late. This is a mostly Marauder army, and here we go. He's actually just going to go ahead and move in. Does have a few fungal growths in here, but the Marauder's doing a good job of clean up Ultras. It's just, how do you kill these Broodlords? None of them have even taken damage yet.
Do we have enough anti? I don't see any Marines. Okay, so many medevacs there. I thought there might be Marines in them. There were not. And the bad part now is that although these orbitals could live for most of this game, now their corruptor's out, and they could just destroy this orbital. The orbital actually just running this way, hoping to bait the corruptors out to buy some more time before this base is attacked. And as you can see, with this base gone now, the mule's landing over here.
Well, ForGG is doing what you kind of need to do against mass Broodlords: run around the map and abuse their speed. So while he's doing that, this base is going to get taken out, but can he actually kill off one of Vortex's bases?
We got an attack down here, an attempt to counter, and this will result in a failure. Certainly it's too good against Marauders. Although I guess the Marauders have some pretty impressive upgrades. Sorry, over here as well, Broodlords attacking.
And the Marines do get cleaned up. GG! Vortex taking game #1 against ForGG. That is pretty impressive, man.
All right, let's go over that game just briefly. He actually lost his hatchery to Hellions and Banshee. Now, anybody who knows anything about professional level StarCraft would say this is something that you should not recover from, especially if the person in the driver's seat of the Terran is ForGG. And you can, I guarantee you, ForGG is very frustrated with that game because that was handed to him. There was a Vortex was just too greedy early on, and somehow he managed to come back.
Yeah, that was it's crazy because, the second that he killed that hatchery off and all the queens and all that stuff, he has to be thinking, this is my game. I'm taking game #1 and I'm going to have momentum. But then Vortex, with his great aggression that he's just so good at, coming right back. ForGG is going to have to analyze this game and figure out what to do against that. And, he might just want to make a few more bunkers, get siege mode a bit quicker.
It's definitely a bad way to start off a best of 5, that's for sure. We've seen a few of Vortex's games here on the stage, and I am blown away by how good this guy is. I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was going to be this scary.
He's a true talent. This guy is up and coming. If he can beat ForGG, that's like you put your name right on the map right there.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and throw it to my bro, Day 9 and Caleris, and we're going to go ahead and analyze that game a little bit closer, so stay tuned.
Hi guys, here at the casting analyst desk with myself, Caleris, and Day 9. How you doing, man? You good?
Well, that was certainly an exciting result to watch from the last series. I mean, Vortex doing an insane job. So let's hop into the game and sort of see what went wrong, because it looked like things were going so right for ForGG. And honestly, if I had to pick something, it would be this that we have up on the screen right now. While we see the starport moving over, we just get it on the screen. Yes, there we go. As the starport's moving back, we've just wrapped up this harass that's killed off this bottom side. We have kind of decent coverage from Vortex, but it was this command center play. There we go. It was this command center play that I wasn't that sold on. I mean, theoretically, getting 4 command centers might seem good. But literally a single Overlord puking creep became an issue for ForGG. It's great to go into macro mode. It's great to get extra mules, but you have to get units. You must get units. And then right here, when he lifts, he builds a 5th orbital command. So in essence, all the extra money that ForGG's gaining from building these orbitals, he's spending on more orbitals. So all he's effectively done is delay all of his production by a bunch.
And I think there was a point there as well where you pointed out that literally going into, I don't know, the 11-minute mark or 10-minute mark or so, he only had like 10 Marines out on the map for a good portion of
10 Marines versus 8 Mutalisks right when they hatch. And suddenly this happens. Whoopsie daisies. Oh no, what did it do? Yeah, this orbital command was moving forward to try to take this expansion. And if you're ForGG, oh my god, the replay went haywire. Hold on, let me zoom forward for a moment. When you're trying to take this expansion, if there's this creep puking down and this happens, you actually can't move out and kill this. This force is too small. And this is actually what forces ForGG to have to kill off these rocks. He actually literally doesn't have enough units to move up. However, this is still a decent spot to be in, as this orbital command's up here. if your opponent's going for Infestor because you're in a defensive position and you need a later term economy. But then we're not going Infestor as Vortex. We're actually going Ling Muta. So we're going to be really aggressive. So literally, all these orbital commands did nothing but drag down ForGG for the entire game. All the barracks just now getting up, but still a bit low. We still don't have this expansion up. It finally gets up, and there's the kill at the front.
And I think there was, little points from there on where Vortex was able to really exploit. Just there's small, little micro methods that Vortex uses to be able to save 1 or 2 Mutalisks. Like, for example, when he actually crushed that first missile turret over to the left-hand side, he just micros back the one Mutalisk that's taking damage and saves it with just a little bit of health left. So it was really, really nice to see Vortex there, able to, once he establishes those advantages, keep hold of them by staying calm, staying complacent, and just being able to stabilize from there on.
So we're hopping into the next game. We're going to throw it back to Tastosis.
Great analysis, guys. We are now in the game, so it should be starting.